Hello, it's Jimmy here at O'Reilly's. I have here a Mitsubishi ASX diesel, of course. So this has got issues with the DPF and oil dilution, and of course he's had the oil changed, he said, but nobody can seem to get the lights off, basically. So he's come down here to see me today, and we're going to get inside the car, have a look at what's going on. I mean, I know these cars pretty regularly, not this exact model, but the Mitsubishi models with this engine. They suffer with oil dilution, where the oil level rises up too high. They suffer with cracked exhaust manifolds. They suffer with boost hoses splitting. Basically everything you can mention. Not your typical Japanese reliability to think of when you see one of these models here. Right, so I'm waiting for my launch to update, so we'll use one of the more basic tools and we'll get inside this one and have a look. Okay, let's hit search on that. We'll wait for that to load up. Alright, so I've just popped the bonnet, but we get check engine oil level, and normally a DPF message as well comes up there. So we have a 2017 Mitsubishi ASX, and like I always mention, if anyone is looking to buy this tool, it's the Mucar 892BT. I will put a link in the video description there. I've got a link where you can buy this with a discount code. So let's go to, as of 2006, it's a Europe model, it's an ASX, and it's a 2017. Right, is it a 1.6 or 2 litre or 2.2? Okay, a quick reds check tells me it's the 2.2 engine. Let's hit smart scan. Okay, codes we have is P2454 and P252F. Engine oil too high, DPF pressure sensor. What else have we got? Extraordinary low voltage. Right, none of these are they're not relevant to what we're looking at today. So we're just going to be looking at the faults in the engine here. If we come over here, click on the engine, live data. Okay, so we've got some live data up here. Last time I done a regen was 17 minutes ago. So the customer's complaint is that it's regenning on every trip, and that the oil level keeps going above the max level. So the oil level keeps filling up above. Then he gets the oil level warning come up. Okay, here's something else I've noticed. When you turn the engine off, it goes into -5 HPA there. Okay, I did miss something there, so let me just do a little bit of explaining here. So that should be, when the engine's off, that should just go to 0, basically, and when we're idling, we shouldn't have 200 HPA, we should have sort of 5, 6, somewhere between 2 HPA to 10 HPA, basically. Ideally, sort of in around that sort of 5 mark. Let's go to see if we can do some special functions here. That one. What we're looking for, DPF pressure sensor exchange. See if we can sort of calibrate that sensor in to 0. Okay, complete. Sorry, I'm putting it on a tilt because it keeps falling off. Next one to do, we'll check the oil level first, but he said the oil has been exchanged already, but we'll confirm that in a minute. We'll leave the engine off now for, say, 5 minutes before we check the oil level. First, let's check if the initialization there I've done has made the sensor go to 0 or not. No, it hasn't. A lot of these sort of Japanese, so Mazda, Nissan, Toyota, Mitsubishi, they all seem to have this issue where the sensor reads a little bit out of sync. Now, I had this issue with a couple of Mazdas recently, and I said to my customer that there's clearly an issue with the software or something, because even with our new sensor, you can't get these to read correct. And most of the Kias, Hyundais and stuff we had with the same issue, and when they brought it back to the Hyundai dealership, they said that's perfectly normal, that's how they all are. But all of the all of the Hyundais and Kias I've ever seen usually read like -6 or -9 HPA. That's not normal to me, but I mean, if a sensor doesn't fix that, I mean, it's got to be the software. There's not much else I can do from that. We can try to calibrate it in. If that doesn't work, you know, what else are you supposed to do there? But the Mazda dealers have confirmed that on their system that it's they've got a TSP for it. Apparently it's normal, but it shouldn't be normal, basically. Okay, so I'm having a look down at the sensor here. We've taken off 2 little balls here for it. Now if we look at this sensor, just try and get it in a position where we can see it. That has been changed. I don't know if you can see that there clearly, but that's a new sensor. So I've just put black on it from my own fingers, but that was pretty clean just a minute ago. It's definitely a new sensor. Okay, we'll connect up a manometer, see if this sensor is reading correctly, because what we can do is read the DPF pressure from. Okay, so that's actually reading higher than the pressure sensor is reading. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this, there's a couple of things we can do. What we'll try is battery disconnect, and we'll also disconnect the sensor and plug that back in. Oh, before I unplug the sensor, actually, I'll show you, there is another fault code that has come up. P2453. I think that one wasn't there before, but now we should get a different fault code when we unplug the sensor. Right, pressure sensor unplugged. High circuit. So a low circuit is because there's too much pressure. So that's pulling the voltage right down. When you've got no pressure at all, the voltage goes higher. So when you unplug the sensor, that's what's happening there now. We've got P2455. Okay, checking the oil level. It's a little bit above max, and that was done yesterday apparently. Right, so on the dipstick we have minimum, maximum. You shouldn't fill it to the max. It should be sort of in the middle of these 2 lines, because you need to give it some leeway. This is the X. When the oil level reaches this high, that's your danger zone, basically. Now it's always worth triple checking the oil level on these. See there, we're above the max. Shouldn't be above the max. Right, we'll do a battery disconnect just for a couple of minutes. What we're trying to do is get this sensor to read as close as possible to what the actual pressure is of the DPF. Now if we can't get that to read, we'll try to change the sensor, but in my experience on these, changing the sensor doesn't really make it much difference. They've just got a really shit system that just doesn't give you 100% the correct reading of what the sensor is giving out, basically. But the main issue on this car today, just so everyone's clear, sometimes I don't explain things enough for people who don't understand. So the issue going on with this here at the minute, it's regen 17 minutes ago, and now it's been idling 10 minutes or more here, 15 minutes maybe. So it basically has done a regen within 2 to 5 minutes of it arriving here to me. And we still have high pressure. What does that mean? That means we've either got a melted DPF inside, or we've got ash buildup. It's got 95,000 miles-ish, something like that. So I know these do suffer with ash at that mileage. A lot of cars you can get more than that, but most cars these days, Euro 6, are sort of 80,000 miles to 120. You will suffer ash problems. Older cars could go higher than that, especially if you're doing motorway mileage. If it's town driving, there's a lot more hours involved, so the ash accumulation will be higher. Just because you say you've done 100,000 miles, you can get 2 cars that have done 100,000 miles, but one has done, 3 times as many hours because it's been driven in towns, not motorways. Okay, so for now, we're going to see if we can get the pressure down on the DPF. That's the first thing that we need to do. Well, firstly, actually, what we'll always do on most diesel cars, especially these, because I know they have common issues with leaks. We can't see anything at the moment, but what we're doing here is a pressure test of the engine. So this puts smoke through the engine and it just pressurizes everything up, and if you have a leak we might see some smoke coming out from somewhere. Having a little visual inspection around the car here, we can see that is kind of wet around there, so there might be a leak here somewhere. Right, so part of the inspection as well, we've taken off the engine cover. Major leak here from the injector there, number 2. Now, surprisingly, couldn't hear that. There's no faults for that. We don't seem to have any air leaks, but we do have a wet hose down here, which I'm really surprised, because if that's wet, There must be a leak, but we're not getting any smoke. So I've traced that leak from around here. It's basically been trickling its way down the tube there over some time. Because if you look around, everywhere else around the area is dry. So if that was a split hose, basically it would give you a mist and all around this area would be wet. But because it's just on the hose, it shows that it's been a small leak over some time, a long time. That's taken many years to build up there. Now it's not immediate, but I'm going to recommend that hose gets changed, and of course this injector seal will also need to be changed. Now the main problem with this is getting hold of these parts. We're not going to get these today, especially that hose. It'll have to be ordered from Mitsubishi. The injector seal might have some of them in the van. We'll see how that goes, but let's now move on to seeing, is this DPF damaged or can it be cleaned? Right, engine running. I'm going to get this cleaning fluid in here. So these two issues here would obviously be contributing to a DPF issue, so they will need sorting out. But we're going to try and clean it out now. Okay, so we're back in the vehicle. We're currently on 75 HPA. Right, so we're going to hold the revs now for a few minutes. We'll just get a graph up there and we should see that pressure. We want that pressure to be below 50 at 3000 RPM. And then we want it to be, like I said, below 10, ideally which was somewhere between 2 to 6 millibars. So give it a couple of revs up and down. We're currently on 50. So I forgot to mention, I mean, normally you can't clean ash on these cars without removing the DPF, but obviously we've made up a mixture of a few different chemicals to sort of find a way around cleaning the ash on the vehicle. If we can get the DPF off, we'll always clean it off the vehicle, but for certain cars like this, you know, the labour is too intensive just to get it off and maybe be able to clean it. If I was going to go through the effort of taking a DPF off of a car like this, I'd want a new replacement DPF at least sat there, just in case we need it, because it's quite a big job to get a DPF off of a car designed like this. It's behind the engine, so very, very big job, a lot of labour involved, so definitely worth trying to clean it on the car first if we've got the correct fluids like I'm doing here. So exactly where we wanted it to be, which I said was 50. Let's let that idle down. 5 HPA. Okay, so we've checked again with the manometer. We've got 5 HPA on the machine. We've got 8 or 9 on there. We've got 50 on here, and we've got 62-ish on the manometer. So it's not 100% correct, but it's not stupidly off. So we'll see how that goes. We'll take this for a test drive around it now, and once we're finished that, we have got injector seals here for the diesel injectors. We'll get the injector seals replaced. I've got another car to deal with after this, so I'll probably let one of the other lads here do the diesel injectors. Not the nicest job. It's got a lot of cleaning up to do on that carbon. It's quite hard to get rid of that. But let's take the vehicle on a test drive now, and then before we confirm that the DPF has been cleaned. Right, so to get rid of that oil level, what we need to do on this, which hasn't been done by someone else, go to special functions and initialization, and we're going to look for engine oil exchange service. There you see that is at 1550 cc's. We're going to perform that. Oh, have we got the ignition on? Okay, so that's been reset. Sorry, it's just hard to get this computer to stay still. It keeps falling off. What we're also going to do now is do a DPF exchange service because the DPF's been cleaned. That's complete. We've done everything else. Now we should be able to clear the fault code. If we try to clear the fault code for the oil, it won't clear until you do the initializations, basically. To confirm that we have no fault codes. So we've just cleared the fault codes. Obviously, before we do the clear, we do the special functions and reinitialize everything. Now we can go back to our live data. We'll do a full code clear before we go back to the live data. Okay, so that's everything reset. We now have below 5 pressure. See, once it goes below 5, it just reads 0. Actually, while we're here, I'll just give something to mention. You know, if I didn't like somebody, if I hated someone, I would recommend you to buy either this car here, Mazda AXS, and if I didn't like you even more, you didn't want to buy the ASX, I'd advise you to buy one of these, Mazda 2.2 Skyactiv. Basically what I'm saying is, I do not recommend either of these cars. They're probably two of the worst cars, diesel cars, that you can ever buy on the road. Okay, so we've now done a test drive of maybe somewhere between 6 to 8 miles. Just confirm that all of the numbers are still exactly the same. 45 to 50 pressure there. Right, so that is it. All done on the Mitsubishi ASX. See you on the next video.